So it's official, we have been named and shamed on Facebook. We were parked up in a small community domain, and we've come across this post that is about me. So Jared has said, if anyone knows this creation, could they tell them that the domain is not a refuge transfer station? I'm more than happy to point them in the right direction to find it. Oh, and genius move, leaving your rego right on top of your rubbish. So yes, somebody has been busy, obviously has too much time on their hands and has been going through the rubbish at a domain. Bit of an unfortunate event. That what happened is when we travel full time, we find ourselves on occasion with a small amount of rubbish in the bus in an area we don't know, so we look for a local rubbish bin. Cindy will always tie the rubbish up in a very small bag and place it in a rubbish bin, rather than just discarding our rubbish here, there and everywhere. Jared, I'd like to say thank you for the compliments. It was nice that you called me a creation. I think I'm a pretty fine creation. Much better than using derogatory comments such as asshole. You also mentioned that I'm a genius. Well, I appreciate that as well, because yes, I have passed the Mensa exam, so technically speaking I am a genius. So thank you for both those compliments. See, the problem is this. First off, Jared turned up at the domain 3 days after we had placed our rubbish bag in the rubbish bin. And in between that time, somebody else had come along and dumped a very large pile of rubbish, apparently on the ground around the rubbish bin. And our bag happened to end up, for one reason or another, amongst that rubbish. This kind of makes me laugh a little. Now, no disrespect, you know, I have apologised to Jared, and you know, the thing he pointed out is that it wasn't a council bin, it was a private bin apparently for the rugby club rooms. I was not aware of this. I assumed it was a council bin and thought that the right thing to do would be to put our rubbish in the bin rather than discard it on the ground. Of course, then everybody jumps on the bandwagon. Now, if you read his comment, basically, and somebody admitted later on, that it sounded like we had driven into the domain, thrown our rubbish out the door of the bus, had gone all over the ground, and we just simply drove away, leaving rubbish sprawled everywhere. This was not the case. You know, to be honest with you, it's actually not the naming and shaming that bothers me, because I found myself, not long after coming across that comment, receiving an email from an association that we are part of. And I read the title of this email and it said, grab your hats and beanies. And I thought, oh, here we go. They're trying to sell us hats and beanies with their logo on now. And so I just grabbed my email and I scrolled through looking for the pictures of these hats and beanies. And I couldn't find a picture. And I was like, but, you know, it says grab your hats and beanies. And then I actually took the time to look at the bigger picture, and I scrolled through the email and it was basically talking about grab your hats and beanies, we've got a lot of great events coming up, it's going to be cold, so dress up warm. The thing is, because people haven't taken time to get the big picture, they've dived in and made some really rude comments without really understanding the whole story. You know, I can look at a Facebook name and shame and you know, that's okay. You know, I understand the guy's probably upset, and I'm guessing it wasn't just our situation that he came across that has frustrated the issue. So the post finished on relatively good terms, and I'd be more than happy, Jared, to come and have a coffee with you sometime, and it'd be great. See, the thing is, this doesn't just relate to Facebook posts and misread email titles. You know, we're all guilty of this at some point in life, and life is funny like that because as people, we tend to see a small portion of information, and out of that we create our judgments and our views on life, the way we see other people, other cultures. And you know, and that's a really sad thing, because one thing with travelling full time that we've learnt very, very quickly is that old saying, don't judge a book by its cover. You know, the brain is actually wired to come to its own conclusion from the information that it sees or gets. So if the brain is not getting the full picture, it's going to create a conclusion to something that may not actually be based on entire fact. I believe we're really privileged to be traveling this country full time and getting to meet so many different people and seeing how so many people, different people live, and having the time to actually hear their full stories. You know, sadly with this little town where, you know, we were named and shamed, the reason that we've been in the area is because we were planning on organising a community picnic for the town, and we were looking for sponsorship, and we basically wanted to feed the people in the town and create and begin to like the philosophy behind it was to get people that don't normally connect with other people in the area to come together and hopefully get a bigger picture of who those people are, and maybe have a better understanding and generate a real sense of strong community. Unfortunately, it doesn't look like that will be happening there now, and that's okay. I guess my encouragement to whoever's watching this video is try and get the big picture before coming to a conclusion. You know, I've found myself in trouble so many times making assumptions about people without hearing their whole life story or seeing the bigger picture or finding out what the circumstances were behind a particular action. You know, I've been doing a lot of research while we've been travelling on human behaviour, on community living versus, you know, isolated living. You know, we've set up our, what we call community, with high fences and our own opinions and judgments on things in life. When I think if we took time to jump the fence or wander up the street and get to meet more people and connect with more people, we'd have a much better understanding of why certain things are the way they are in life and why certain people behave the way they do. You know, I had an unfortunate situation once where I was in a corporate office, and right next door was the periodic detention officers. And I remember having a conversation one morning with they were coming, all the, you know, guys were coming in for their periodic detention. It was that day of the week, and somebody in the office made this comment to me, "Oh, what a bunch of losers, what a bunch of dropouts." And I thought about that, and I could have agreed with it, but I couldn't because of what I now know. You know, the thing is, we don't know anything about those people's past, we don't know anything about their upbringing, and, you know, I'm a firm believer that your upbringing should not dictate your future. But the difference between having a bad upbringing and following through on that kind of life, and having a bad upbringing and changing your life, is just simply learning some tools in between. And it's quite possible that those people simply haven't been shown how to live a different way. Again, been influenced by the circumstances around them or how they've viewed life. See, their outlook on life is really based on what they've seen and what they know. So maybe before coming to conclusions in life, it might pay just to step back, because sometimes you don't see the big picture. Unfortunately, somebody has come in between that time and obviously dropped off a whole lot more rubbish. It's a shame. I would encourage you, if you are a traveller and you're watching this, please be tidy. Please either take your rubbish with you or pack it up tight and find a rubbish bin to put it in. You know, we want to keep this country clean and green so we can all enjoy it. The tourist industry in New Zealand is huge, and it's actually freedom campers that contribute at times up to 50% of the local economy in peak seasons. So maybe it's time to relook at our infrastructure and see how we can support this growing industry in our beautiful country. So pick up your rubbish and keep New Zealand green.